right, as I said, I won't keep you long, but I wanted to talk to you all a bit about our progress, where we are with our violence initiative, and partnering with federal prosecutors, our state police partners, and also the Monroe County Sheriffs. We've all been diligently working very hard together. We also have a piece where we're working with community partners that really work on the services aspect of it to give people alternatives. Sheriff Baxter has been doing quite a bit of work on that, so certainly we're grateful to him. I want to share with you that in the 2 weeks prior to the implementation of the strategy, and that's during the period June 28th to July 11th, there were 21 shootings, which included 5 homicides, 3 of which were attributable to guns. I believe the other 2 were a result of a knife being used. In the 2 weeks since this program started, this initiative started, where we're pushing towards on the federal end to keep people in custody. And that's the period from July 12th to July 25th. We've had 11 shootings and 1 homicide. Now, while these are encouraging results, I know, and we all know, that these 2 weeks are not going to give us an accurate measure of whether we're successful or not. And we're going to revisit this. We're going to come and talk to you again sometime in mid-September, unless something else notable comes up, and then we'll obviously want to talk to you sooner than that. I do want to emphasize, and again, I really want to thank our partners locally, especially a little extra kudos to our state police partners. We work well together, have for years, but this has not resulted in our neighborhoods being blanketed with a police presence. I want to emphasize that it's a specific strategy. We're targeting the most violent individuals to get them off the streets, and they're getting arrested for those crimes, and then our very capable major crimes unit and this piece or initiative as our liaison to the federal prosecutors is Captain Zelenovic. So I want to thank him especially for his hard work and diligence on that, and also Captain Umbrino for working hard behind the scenes. They have to coordinate together to be able to make the arrests, but also have quality cases that can move on to federal prosecution. So I really want to recognize them and their entire teams and thank them very much for their hard work on this. We also have initiatives that include the Marshal's Office arresting people who are wanted for specific violent crimes. I just got a report from our Marshal for this area, Chuck Salina. He's doing a great job. He's keeping me updated on some of the success they've had. What I especially like about this whole piece is that we've worked together over the years already, but what we're doing now is being especially diligent about talking to each other on a more intense and regular basis to make sure we're all clear about moving these cases forward, because obviously if the work's not quality and the cases don't hold up, then we've done no one a service in that sense. So again, I really can't thank people enough just by their willingness to all come together. And I also want to stress that with regard to our U.S. Attorney, J.P. Kennedy, I mean, these are things we all talked about, myself, him, Major Chase from the state police, Sheriff Baxter, that we were going to come up with strategies that target specific people, and we're not going to target the people who are out there just trying to live their lives, trying to go to school when school opens, trying to go to work, and just sit in your living room when you're a kid and watch your favorite show and not have to worry about getting shot through the window. So I just want to stress that to the public. That's our commitment, and that's what we've been doing. We're getting the results. We hope, I pray and hope that we will continue on this trend, but obviously, you know, we can only control so much. So again, we just couldn't have done it with all of our partners. So I feel that in our on the path that we're on now, we'll revisit this, but we said 60 days, so we'll come together, look at that, and see where things stand. I believe I said mid-September, so that's going to be our goal and focus, and certainly we'll keep you posted. But I'm certainly happy to answer any of your questions, and I'm sure, Major, if you have any questions for the state police, we're happy to help.
The U.S. Attorney, when they released the statistics, they combined Buffalo and Rochester. What are the Rochester numbers?
I just looked at those earlier today. Captain Zelenovic and his staff ensured that I got a hold of those. 29 people that have been reviewed or targeted, and 7, am I right, Captain? 7 or 9? 7 were sent for federal prosecution. But so from that, but it's not just about the arrest. What we also want to focus on is our big picture is how are we impacting the quality of life in the neighborhoods? You know, how are we impacting the ability of people to just go to the grocery store without having to worry about being shot at? So we're looking at all of those things. But so while those count for the federal cases, again, that's been led, as far as the people we're targeting, been led by Captain Zelenovic, and he's working closely with the U.S. Attorney's staff, and also the District Attorney, too. We've been working on that, because they're tracking both, you know, all of those arrest cases, but then also those that are targeted for federal prosecution. So
out of the 138 people that the U.S. Attorney's Office announced have been arrested between Buffalo and Rochester, can you single out how many of those people were in Rochester? What the percentage of those people from Rochester?
No, I think our number, it's a 57, am I 57, 59? No, those were targeted. Those are people we've targeted. But under the arrests and who've been referred for the U.S. Attorney's prosecution, that's 7.
Okay, so sorry, the 29 people then, how does that?
Because what we're doing is we're focusing, it's not all crime. It's the cases that meet that criteria. Am I right?
Correct.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, don't look at this as to entirely how many people we've arrested in the last 2 weeks.
I just want to clarify. So
sure.
There's been 58 total people that have been arrested in Rochester during this task force. 29 of them were then referred to the feds for potential charges, and then 7 of them ultimately faced federal charges?
Is that right? No, that's not right. And I can get you those numbers. Do you know them offhand? I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, I don't know the exact numbers.
Because those were people we were targeting.
Correct.
And then the arrests and referrals to the federal prosecutors was 7, right?
Correct. 29 people presented, and not there from shooting investigations and gun arrests that we've been making. 7 are being taken federal.
Right.
So the other 22 catching releases also the same? Right?
No, that you're talking about that 57, or you're talking about that 29?
Well, that was the problem.
I'm confused with all the numbers I have.
Yeah, I mean, that was the problem with the attorneys, and they just lumped all the numbers together, so we don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I understand.
We don't really hear about Buffalo, and Buffalo we don't know about Rochester, so we need to know what our numbers are here.
No, but that's why I wanted to focus on who we're targeting, because for us, it's not all of the total arrests we've made, but it's the people. There's one number, which is the people we've targeted as a part of this effort, and then out of that number, how many were referred for federal prosecution. We're not measuring or counting every arrest we make, because certainly they've been out there, and other arrests have been made, but for this, we're talking about the folks that fall under this violence reduction initiative. Remember at the U.S. Attorney's press conference, they gave specific criteria for the people we're going to target. That's who we're talking about.
So you've got 57 people targeted. homicide is turning into a arithmetic.
Yeah.
No, no, no.
I'm confused by the.
No, yeah, no, that was I misspoke on that. There are total numbers to date, and then there are numbers that we're targeting for this effort. And so just erase the 57. It's 29 that are the focus, and then out of that 29, so far 7 have been sent for federal prosecution.
So to clarify, it's 29 out of the 138 that have already been announced. We're from Rochester.
Yeah, all I'm giving you are our numbers.
Right.
You know, so if they're giving you that number, then take that and subtract ours from it.
Okay.
All right.
The majority are from Buffalo.
Yeah, but I don't know in their numbers what they're counting. They may be counting all of their arrests for that time period, and we're not doing that.
Chief, it's good to hear that there's a promising start, but how are you going to be able to tell in the stats after 60 days that this is really working, and what are the possibilities that you'll need to extend this after 60 days in case people that are being targeted are just waiting it out till they don't see the officer presence anymore, Fed presence, and then things just go back to the way they were, which was bad to begin with?
Well, all we can do is come up with our best game plan on how to address this, and then see what happens. So right now we're in the see what happens mode. And so even our analysts, I mean, he kept stressing with me, and I get that. There's no way, like I said a few minutes ago, there's no way that I can tell you that 2 weeks is enough time for an accurate sample. It's just not. Is it encouraging? Yes. But I may be coming back to you in a week or two, and we've had a spike, and we need to figure out what that's about, and then maybe adjust our plan. I don't know. But I know that we're not just going to focus on the amount of arrests we've made. What we're looking at also is how have we impacted the community. So I talked to you a little while ago about the amount of shootings, and within that homicides, so we're going to also measure those as well. And then remember now, we've also got a piece where they're looking at providing people with alternatives to violence, whether it's job, resources. You know, we need to cover that part too. And so we have to keep doing what we're doing, take a minute, assess where things stand, and then if we have to revisit or make some changes, then we're going to do that.
So when this started, what were the measures? Were the measures just reducing shootings and homicides, or how many people were referred for jobs? I mean, what is the real metrics that are going to be used to show that this is successful?
Well, for me, we always have to have that piece where we're giving people options or alternatives. For me, the measure is how are we impacting the community? Are we lessening the shots fired incidences? Certainly, if we see a decrease in homicides, that's also good news. But we're looking at the total impact to the community. And if we have, in our services piece, you know, our community partners there may come up with some solutions or alternatives, maybe a reentry type piece. We have to look at that too. So remember now, we've only been at this 2 weeks, so we have to see where things stand now. Our goal here is transparency, to share with the people what we've done, where things stand, and we may get some feedback with the community because those meetings continue, and so they may give us some feedback as to some things they want to see happen as well. We'll have to see. And I think you were trying to get in there too.
Yeah, I was going to ask, obviously you guys have a difficult job, you know, given the violence in Rochester. What, in addition to this effort, do you think you guys can do to prevent some of these shootings?
Well, I could talk to you a whole day about that. I mean, and I want to reemphasize too, this is an issue that's going on across the nation. It's not just us. I've talked to chiefs from all over. You've seen it in the news yourselves. You all were trying to figure out whose numbers were higher, us or Chicago. It's out there, but I believe strongly in prevention, and so, you know, I worked with the district several years ago to, you know, revamp their code of conduct so that you minimize suspensions, because we know that the more kids are suspended, the more likely they're going to end up in the criminal justice system. Working with United Way on their programs, in the areas that we know have the biggest impact, that keep people out of this justice system, addressing disparity. That's why you'll hear me talk about how, and I still feel that way, I don't believe police, law enforcement are the solution here. It's just not, because how long have we had law enforcement? If just having law enforcement out there and enforcement taking place, we wouldn't be having this problem now. We have to, and we have to, if that means going in our pockets as a community, but if that means paying for other programs that we know have a high level of success, then I think that's where we'll have the biggest impact. But we still also have to do something. Like I said, when that young man was in his living room watching his favorite show and he catches a bullet, you know, those kids in the car where they're watching their mom get shot, you can't sit by and not address that. And I refused, as long as I'm wearing these 4 stars, to watch kids grow up thinking that this is normal, that this is where we've come as a society, without us all taking action on that. I'm just not going to stand by for that. So, like I said, happy to sit down with you if you got a couple of days, but yeah, this is something I've worked on for years. I believe in prevention. I don't see where anything else has those kinds of success outcomes, that, you know, if you keep people out of the process, that you're more likely to have a good impact. And you know how where you live, your zip code has a big impact on that. These are things we know. And if we know it, we know what works, then I say we don't reinvent, we just try to get it done. So.
Out of the 29, you mentioned 29 people charged since Project Breakfast began, 7 federal prosecutions. Are you expecting more federal charges out of the remaining 21 to happen sometime soon, or is just the remaining 21 just?
Oh, we're not stopping there. Captain Zelenovic, are you prepared to talk about that at all? You want to talk a little bit about it?
Sure.
Yeah, why don't you come on up?
So of the 29 that were presented, they all faced state charges. So we met in this exile meeting where we discussed with federal prosecutors where the best avenue to prosecute the case. So they picked up 7 so far. Some of those remaining 22 are pending, and they're pending some investigative tasks that have to get done. So we're not done with those, and it's almost daily that we're compiling new cases and sending them over between the U.S. Attorney's Office and DA's office for consideration.
So as they are pending, are they been released?
Well, on the state side, yeah, they're released for sure. On the Fed side, that's not the case.
Can you get them on board if the state doesn't work? Can you go up to the feds to get them, or is it just you got to pick which one you want to go to, and then you got to ride that horse that you pick?
So like the chief alluded to, you know, we look at the most violent offenders, right? Gun cases, assault shootings and whatnot. And so the intent is to keep some of these very violent individuals in custody. So there has been occasion of those 7, and I don't know exactly which cases, that they were released on the state side charges by a judge who ROR'd them, and then they were picked up by the feds. I can think of at least 3 of them that are now sitting in federal custody.
These are because of gun charges.
Yes, primarily gun charges.
So
Shootings, they're involved in assault shootings.
So if the state lets them go, you can get them on the same charge on federal.
Well, it's not the same charge, it's a federal statute, 2 of them, one for being a felon in possession of a firearm, and then the other one is for being a felon in possession of ammunition, and we've made a couple of those cases.
What would you say about the fact that the state is just letting these people go who have been charged with shootings or?
I'm probably not the one to comment on that.
Since the 14th, I know it's the city, that was the last homicide at 40. Would you say out of these arrests, have you caught most of the people that are causing the shootings and the homicides in the city, or is it too soon? What can you
It's
say about
like the chief said, it's really too soon. 2 weeks is not a great sample size, but we are targeting the right people. I can assure you that.
What can you at least say about the fact we haven't seen a homicide since the 14th?
I know we're very proud. I mean, we're happy about that. That's for sure. I mean, I don't know what else to say to that. Chief?
Chief,
All right, thank you.
Well,
Well,
about the anti-violence summit tomorrow, if I can.
I don't know anything about it, so.
The one that's involved with the Office of Neighborhood Safety? And
That would be Dr. Lyman Torres.
I know, I was talking a lot about tomorrow. I just wanted to see if you were involved in any of the discussions about the summit.
Oh, yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, she knows she's just, whatever she needs. She's already emailed me about it. I'm going to help out with some things tomorrow, so looking forward to it. And now that you've talked to the captain, I can acknowledge that some of these things I know are delicate. There are certain people they haven't gotten to yet, and I didn't want to stick my foot in my mouth and give away something I shouldn't have. And so this is, it's an ongoing thing. Like I said, when we had our first meeting, it was just impressive because, you know, our folks have done their homework. Our analysts have been hard at work, and they've done a lot to help us target specific people. And it's not, because, you know, you have other things going on out there. It's not the kind of situation where someone maybe is in a car and someone else has a gun and they don't know about it. That's not, those, they may face their own charges, but those aren't the people we're targeting. We're targeting people with repeated lengthy histories for violence with gun crime. So I just want to be clear about that. I also want to stress that we have worked quite a bit, like I said, with our state police partners on the different initiatives in the city, and I'd like to invite Major Chase to come up and talk a little bit about that, if you could, Major.
Thank you very much, Chief. Good afternoon. So state police is a component of this initiative, and one of the things that we've been doing is we have select troopers that are working in the city and in the county. Just last night, I'll give you an example. Last night, my troopers were out in looking for hot spots areas that we've identified, and they did come across the vehicle and attempted to stop that vehicle, or did stop that vehicle for vehicle and traffic violations, and a gun was thrown out of the vehicle. 5 people were in that vehicle. Nobody admitted to the possession of the firearm, so all 5 were charged with the felony of criminal possession of a weapon. Second, 2 of those 5 were on parole, 1 for DWI and 1 for criminal possession of a weapon. That weapon was stolen. So this is part of all the, you know, the governor's initiative also to trace these guns back where they come from, how they're getting into the state. So in this particular one was stolen, and we are in the process of tracking that down. We got a pretty good idea where it came from. So hopefully we'll have a little more information on that at some time.
Is that an example of something that would go up to federal, and not because they've already been through the state?
Is the captain and the chief had stated, the federal prosecutors have a certain, they're locked into a certain criteria on how they can take it federally. So all that is reviewed. As soon as there's a gun charge in the city or in the county, it's immediately reviewed, and if that individual is in possession that meets that criteria, then they make the decision to charge it federally. So there's a lot of components when it's just, you just can't automatically take somebody on a federal charge because they have a gun. They have to meet a certain criteria by law.
If they meet the criteria, is it then automatic?
Again, it's reviewed by the U.S. attorney. So it's
there have been daily conversations with the feds before the task force started. How often were you guys communicating with the feds, you know, to consider some of these crimes and whether, you know, they could be upcharged like this?
To my knowledge, we've been doing this weekly for quite a long time. So it's something that the district attorney and the U.S. attorney's office has been doing on a weekly basis. So, okay, to my understanding. All right. Okay.
Chief, a question about
Thank you.
issues. I mean, how much are the partners helping out with staffing? Do you find that you've got is a lot more overtime now coming on, or do you have just regular complement of officers, or is there a lot of overtime being bidded out or being asked for?
Well, it's summer. Overtime always goes up around this time period. And you know, we also had that large city event, which was the fireworks, which calls for quite a few people. And during those times, we've asked our partners for help, the state police, also the sheriff, and we're going to be there for them when they need us. There are all kinds of things that come into play during a time like this. So, for example, under our contract, collective bargaining agreement, if people put in their vacation time by the required deadline, then we're mandated to cover those, and we have to do that. And I can tell you as an officer, I was very happy about that because, sometimes it gets crazy and you're just glad for that time off. Would I like to have less impact on my overtime budget now that I'm the chief? Yeah, but I could also remember you need that time off, especially for the ones who are just out there and they give it 110%. You just need to take a break. So what I do like, as I've said, is I like the partnership. I like the way we all try to work together and support each other. Anytime, even for the protests since I've been here, we had to call on the state police. We spent weeks sitting down together planning. We were in the rooms where we would hold our oversight meetings when we were dealing with some of the protests that were going on. I mean, we've just worked together. We work together well, and I just can't thank them enough. But certainly I appreciate the help. So.
Chief, quick question
Speaking of
on the
overtime, that's all the time we have today.
Just one question,
We don't
please,
want to
Mike.
have we have 4 more people here that we got to get going. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is enough for everybody.
Go ahead, Mayor.